This is the S25 Ultra from Itel.
Wait a minute! Who are you?
Okay, so let's start with the elephant in the room. This design. Everyone and their mom knows that this looks like the Galaxy S24 Ultra. And then the fact that they named it the S25 Ultra clearly shows us that they know exactly what they're doing. And this is no coincidence. I feel like they wanted to get people talking about this phone, and they did. Some people did not like the fact that it looked like the S24 Ultra, and then others liked how sleek and beautiful it looks. So my question to you now is, which group do you belong to? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Let me know in the comments. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's proceed. The S25 Ultra is one of two devices in the S25 series. The other device is the S25. That shares a lot of similarities, spec-wise, with the Ultra, and is also cheaper. I couldn't get my hands on it, but I think it's a pretty interesting phone. Yes, it looks like the S24, but it's also the cheapest brand new phone you can buy with an AMOLED display. I think a lot of people would like it. But anyway, back to the Ultra. Yes, they did copy the camera layout of the S24 Ultra, but they tweaked some things. First off, the cameras are arranged closer to the middle than they are closer to the left side of the phone. Someone mentioned it in the comments, and now I can't unsee it. Also, instead of having 4 cameras and a flash like the S24 Ultra, this has just one working camera, one unspecified macro lens, an RGB light, an IR blaster, and a flashlight. Also, this has a curved display and is significantly thinner than the S24 Ultra. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you look pretty quickly, you might think it's a Samsung phone, but if you look really closely, you'd realize it's not. The Itel S25 Ultra comes in 3 colors: black, titanium, and blue. I got the Komodo Ocean, which is the blue, but after seeing the titanium, I realized that that's the best looking one. The black and titanium variants come in a 2-tone finish, while the blue has this wavy pattern. All color variants have a matte textured rear with a glossy frame. I would have complained about the glossy frame, but because this phone is so thin, it's barely noticeable. One thing I noticed though is that a lot of brands this year are focusing on durability. Itel told me to drive over this phone. They also told me to do drop tests, to do bend tests. They told me to put it in water because it has an IP64 rating, all of which I did. And at the end of it all, the phone actually survived. You can still see some scratches and dents around the camera rings, but other than that, yeah, it's fine. To the right of the phone, you'd find the power and volume buttons. They're pretty thin, but very clicky. At the bottom, you'd find the SIM and SD card tray, which thankfully houses 2 SIM cards and an SD card. Next to the tray is the one microphone, the USB-C port, and the only speaker on this phone. So no headphone jack, and also no stereo speakers, just one. Here's how it sounds. Itel went with an under-display fingerprint reader. It's an optical sensor, so it's not as quick, but I think it's fine and works 95% of the time. The issue I have with it though is its unlocking animation. I don't know, I just don't like it. I looked at the settings to see if, I could change it, but there is no such setting. This is the only one we get for now. But fingers crossed, they add more options in a future software update. For software, this is running on Itel OS 14.5, which is based on Android 14. It looks and feels very familiar, but there are a couple new things, like the improved AI-powered voice assistant Aviana, or is it Ivana? Ivana? We also get icon theming that lets you match the colors of your app icons to your wallpaper. There's also the ability to generate your own wallpapers with AI. And then we can't forget dynamic bar, which can do a lot more now. And then to go back to that RGB light I talked about earlier, well, yeah, it's kind of like a notification light. If you go into the settings app, you can customize it. I believe it's under backlight effects. You can select when you want it to come on, how it would flash, and what colors would flash. I think it could be useful for those times when your phone's like face down on a table, so it kind of notifies you when someone's calling, or I don't know. Let me know what you guys think of it in the comments. Also, on the back of the phone, if you remember, there's the IR blaster. With it, this phone basically turns into a remote control for your electronic appliances. So you can use your phone, this phone, to control, say, your TV or your AC. The S25 Ultra is set to get Android 15. Itel has promised that this would get 1 year of software updates. Now, although this is very commendable, because this is like their flagship, I feel like it should have gotten 3 years. But yeah, Android 15 is coming to the S25 Ultra. Okay, next I want to talk about this display. It's a 1080p 120Hz curved AMOLED display. It's also plenty bright, 1000 nits in high brightness mode, and then it peaks at 1400 nits. So yes, you can use this outdoors. I touched on this earlier, but yeah, this display is also tough. If you recall, I mentioned driving over it. I also mentioned dropping it a bunch of times, and it survived all of that because of its Gorilla Glass 7i protection. I wouldn't recommend doing any of the things I did in this video, but at least now you know that if it ever drops, it's most likely going to survive. And then on top of that, Itel is promising that if you break your phone within the first 100 days of you purchasing it, you'll get the screen repaired for free. There's really nothing to complain about this display. It looks good, its bezels are really thin, it's bright, it's tough. It's a really good display. The only complaints I could possibly think of is that this phone is really tall. So if you're someone with small hands, you're most likely going to use 2 hands when using this phone. But other than that, it's a good display. For the longest time, Itel phones have come with Unisoc processors. And yeah, on the S25 Ultra, we also get a Unisoc processor, the T620. It's a 12 nanometer chipset, and yeah, when compared to other processors in similarly priced phones, this isn't as powerful. But we're always told that numbers don't tell the whole story. So what's the whole story? Well, the honest truth is, if you're someone who's just watching TikToks on their phone, who is scrolling on X, texting on WhatsApp, making phone calls, doing a little bit of multitasking, gaming here and there, this would be fine. This would handle all of that. So although this is not the most powerful processor you can find for this price, it's still good enough for most people. But if you're someone who does a lot of heavy multitasking, or you play a lot of heavy games, then I think you can actually find something better for the price. Even in the Itel lineup, the RS4 comes to mind. That is built for performance and gaming. This, not so much. But then again, that is not to say that this has a bad processor or it can't multitask. It can. It comes with 8 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of UFS 2.2 storage. When I used this phone, I didn't face any serious hiccups. I was able to multitask, switch between apps, and aside the occasional 1-second delay, it was fine. So its performance is good, but definitely not the best you can get for the price. Okay, so this phone is not built for the gamers. What about the photographers? Well, we have a 50 megapixel main camera and then a 32 megapixel selfie camera. What I noticed after taking a couple pictures with it is that there's a lot of processing going on. When you take a photo, you have to wait for about 1 second for it to work its magic. And yeah, when it gets it gets it right. Some of the images that this took actually really impressed me. And then some other times it wasn't as detailed, or the color was a bit off, or it lacked a bit of saturation. I'll just suggest taking pictures outdoors, staying a bit still when you take those photos, and just wait to see what it produces. Let me know what you guys think of its camera quality down in the comments. Okay, so this is the front-facing camera of the Itel S25 Ultra. It's currently shooting in 1080p 30 fps, even though it can go up to 2K. How does it look? Is the footage stable? Sorry, I'm sweating. I just finished filming something. So just, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think of its video quality as well as the mic quality down in the comments. If I had to give its cameras an overall rating, it will probably be a B-. It's good, but not so good. Even though this phone is thinner than my finger, literally, Itel somehow managed to fit a 5000 mAh battery inside of it. 5000 mAh is quite big, but this phone also has a big display that refreshes at 120 Hz. It also has a processor that isn't very efficient, so I did wonder what its battery life was going to be like. Well, it's okay. You can expect somewhere around 8 hours of screen on time if you're just streaming content, and then somewhere around 6 hours if you're doing anything more demanding, like gaming. So to summarize, on lighter days, this can last you a whole day and then you charge at night. But then on heavier days, yeah, you need to carry around a charger. Speaking of charging, the S25 Ultra supports 18 watts of wired charging. 18 watts is honestly kind of slow, but at least they give you the 18 watt charger in the box. Okay, so what do I think of the Itel S25 Ultra? Well, just like every other budget phone out there, it has its pros and its cons. Its performance, although fine for regular people, isn't the best you can get for the price. Its cameras, again, although fine for regular people, isn't also the best you can get for its price. The same can be said for its battery life and its charging. But when it comes to design, when it comes to durability, when it comes to its display, the Itel S25 Ultra shines. So if it wasn't clear already, if you're someone who's looking for sleek, if you're someone who's looking for stylish, strong, you're looking for an impressive display, perhaps because you like watching content, and your budget is about 250k, then yeah, if you buy this, you wouldn't be disappointed. These will be my ratings for the S25 Ultra. I'm thinking of doing this at the end of every single review video, so let me know what you guys think of that, as well as what you think of the S25 Ultra. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you when you see me.